TFA fam, appreciate you rocking with me. We have 6 teams on bye this week, so let's just go ahead and dive right into our consensus Week 9 wide receiver rankings here at TFA. Kicking things off with Justin Jefferson at numero uno, Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, DeAndre Hopkins, Devontae Adams, AJ Brown, Jalen Waddle, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Mike Evans, T. Higgins, and Chris Olave wrapping things up for us at wide receiver 12. Really not a lot to talk about here with our wide receiver 1 rankings. The one thing to pay attention to and be mindful of is Cooper Kupp and his availability. He's considered day-to-day with his injury. We're not entirely sure if he is going to go this week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So obviously, if you have him on your team, keep that in mind. But that's really the only thing here in terms of our wide receiver 1. Let's go ahead and just keep it on moving to our wide receiver 2s for Week 9. Chris Godwin leads us off there, followed by Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Terry McLaurin, Juju Smith-Schuster, Tyler Boyd, Michael Pittman at 21, Devonta Smith, Jacoby Myers, and Gabe Davis at wide receiver 24. A couple of guys I want to touch on here quickly include 2 bounce back candidates in Terry McLaurin and DJ Moore. With McLaurin, over the past 2 weeks, he has seen 16 targets, which he's turned into 11 catches for 186 yards and a score. The Vikings are giving up nearly 39 PPR points per game to wide receivers, which is the 7th most, and they're ranked 22nd in pass DVOA. So I'm locking in TMC as a strong wide receiver 2 this week. DJ Moore posted back-to-back wide receiver 1 weeks. He's seen 21 targets over the past 2 weeks. Part of that is because, CMC's not there. Robbie Anderson isn't there either. But we don't care why he's getting the targets, but he's getting them. He's now 12th in target share and 3rd in air yard share on the year. Gets a matchup against Cincy in Week 9, who have actually given up the 9th fewest PPR points per game to wide receivers. But part of that is because they've only allowed 4 receiving touchdowns on the year. But they've also faced quarterbacks like Mitch Trubisky, Andy Dalton, Cooper Rush, and Marcus Mariota. So I think the Cincy offense rebounds here, which will mean more passing attempts for PJ Walker and more looks for DJ Moore. Last but not least, in these wide receiver 2 options for Week 9 that I want to touch on, Juju Smith-Schuster. Folks were out here talking about dropping Juju just a few weeks ago, and hopefully you did not listen to that nonsense. I know that he was disappointing at the beginning of the year, but this is still a Pat Mahomes-led offense, and he was still the wide receiver who was seeing the most consistent targets, and he has now posted 100 yards and a score in back-to-back weeks, and he has a great chance of keeping that trend going with the Titans coming to town, who have allowed the 6th most PPR points per game to the position. The Chiefs have the 3rd highest implied point total on the week as well, so this sets up well for the entire Chiefs offense. Moving it right along to our wide receiver 3s for the week, Christian Kirk at 25, Adam Thielen at 26, Romeo Doubs, Josh Palmer, Brandon Cooks, Darnell Mooney at 30, Curtis Samuel, Drake London, Devin Duvernay at 33, Rondale Moore, Allen Robinson, and then Bobby Trees at 36. There's definitely some options I'm intrigued by here with the wide receiver 3s for Week 9. Let's kick it off with Kev's boy, Darnell Mooney. It certainly has not been pretty, but the Bears offense has started to look better over the past couple of weeks. Darnell Mooney has at least 50 receiving yards in 5 straight games, including 65 or more in 3 of his last 5. This game here in the matchup with the Miami Dolphins opened up with a total of 42, and that has already been bet up 3.5 points to 45.5. The Dolphins have allowed the 12th most PPR points per game to wide receivers, and they rank 29th in pass DVOA. So I think you can feel pretty comfortable plugging in Mooney as wide receiver 3, flex option. Curtis Samuel, I already talked about Terry McLaurin. So obviously everything I said about TMC applies here to Curtis Samuel. It's a favorable matchup. Logan Thomas is back, but he's working his way back from that calf injury. He split time last week with 2 other tight ends, so he still might not be seeing his normal complement of targets. And in a matchup here where Heineke could be forced to throw more often, I think Curtis Samuel gets a bump. And he's also seen 9 carries in the past 2 weeks after going like 3 or 4 games without seeing one. So they're definitely trying to get him more involved. And then Josh Palmer, I think he could be potentially looked at as a wide receiver 2 this week. Mike Williams is out. He's dealing with that ankle injury. Keenan Allen could very well be limited as he still seems to be dealing with some of those lingering effects from the hamstring issue. He did not play at all in the second half in their last game, and the Falcons are giving up the most PPR points per game to wide receivers. So I really like Josh Palmer. And then if you have to dig a little bit deeper, go down these rankings a little bit more, I'm interested in Marquez Valdez-Scantling this week. He has 90 or more yards in 2 of his last 3 games. And more importantly, we finally saw him used as a downfield threat last week, posting a 26.5 average depth of target, which more than doubled his season long average. He's more of a boom bust here for week 9, but the matchup is definitely there for him, like I was talking about with Juju Smith Schuster. And then, depending on what happens with the Packers wide receiver group, Allen Lazard might be out, and Christian Watson is going to be in the concussion protocol. So, if those two guys are out, if you need to really dig deep, get down on those rankings, if you need to pick someone up off of waivers, you can look at Samori Toure. He only saw 4 targets last week. He did catch 1. That one went for a touchdown. But if both of Lazard and Christian Watson are going to be out for this game, Toure becomes an intriguing desperation dart throw in a juicy matchup against the Detroit Lions, whose defense has been absolutely dreadful all year long. And then last but not least, let's talk about the dynasty darling. That is Terrace Marshall. The dude is finally seeing the field in his second year. 2 weeks ago, he saw an 86% snap share. Last week in week 8, that bumped up to 92%. He also saw 9 targets and caught 4 of those for 87 yards. As of this recording, he is still rostered in less than 5% of ESPN leagues. So if you need someone to kind of just pick up off of waivers, maybe you're dealing with some injuries, the bye weeks got you down, I think you can look at Terrace Marshall here in this matchup, grab him off of waivers, and just throw him right into your starting lineup. That is going to wrap up the Week 9 wide receiver rankings. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. You can also join our Fantasy Football Discord channel, absolutely free, no strings attached. Click on the link below. You can jump in. We're talking dynasty, redraft, props, betting, DFS, you name it. We're talking about it over on the TFA Discord. Have a great Week 9, and I'll talk to you soon.